Call to order the meeting, May 8th meeting of Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Can we get the roll call, please?
Aaron Angel here. Scott Conley.
Present.
Thomas Davis is not here. Paige Lewis here. Sam Libby.
Here.
Nicholas Novello.
Here.
Dan Wilson is not here. And council liaison Tim Moore.
Here.
Great. So, are there any changes to the proposed agenda?
I'd like to see if I could add something on the new business.
Okay. Or do you want to add it from items from the board?
Either one, I guess, but I was hoping maybe new business so we could vote on it rather than just members of the board, but.
Okay.
So it's gonna depend on what it is, because
we
it wasn't
yesterday.
posted,
Yeah,
yeah.
right, yeah. I know it may take another month to do.
Do you wanna tell us what it is?
So.
This is gonna be great.
So it's
You're
something
so
that's-
sunny, you must be a grandfather.
Yeah, so it is something that's come up a couple of times with the Bicycle Issues Committee, and it's come here once before, but the rec center needs a ramp to the Greenway. And
Yeah, we're working on that.
that's the response we got last time though, and it's been 3 years since that response. And so the issue is that at any given time, we have access issues to the Greenway. And so going through the parking lot is not acceptable, and not having a ramp is also not acceptable. So if there's a specific timeline, that would be great.
There's not a specific timeline. Quail Campus is shown as being a design build project starting in 2024 into 2025 currently. That project would include that trail. There is current trail connection, though not ideal, out of the parking lot if you want to go around the tennis courts. So yes, there's the connection, it's not ideal, we look to fix that, but right now that's where that project sits. There might be an opportunity to move that forward, we're looking at that right now, so we don't have any
Can
time
we
frames or anything like
Can we bring
that.
that back up under items from the board and talk
Yeah, or
further?
staff, we can talk a little more too. So
Okay.
there are
All right.
desires to look at something like be a Band-Aid fix or a quick fix or something that won't tie into the.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Any other discussion about the agenda before we approve? Okay, if not, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Yeah, I move we approve the agenda from last month's meeting.
Thank you. Second? I'll second it. Great, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Are there any amendments to last month's minutes? I have to stop. They're under the old business, starting on page 3. And I might, this is another one where I might just send you language, but like at the top it says, this is when we're talking about the ballot initiative. It said if the board is going to hold people accountable, they need to engage with the public. I just wasn't sure what that meant. I think it's more about, I don't know. That doesn't even, I mean, I don't think we're holding anyone accountable.
I'm trying to find
necessarily.
it.
It's at the top of page 3.
Okay. Oh. This is page 3.
I think it's about the need for us to engage the public if we want to garner support for the,
I think that's the intent.
yeah.
I would just remove the sentence.
Just remove the sentence.
Doesn't make sense,
Yeah,
really.
it doesn't. Okay.
Well, this is Dr. Walter's speaking. You want?
I'm trying, I don't have, I'm looking at the digital version,
Yes.
and I don't have page numbers. so
Oh, okay,
give me-
here you go.
It's,
I've got papers.
There
and
should
then
be on
the
the top
end of,
The crossed out
page.
thing.
the end of paragraph 2 under old
I don't have
business.
the page numbers.
Okay, so it's on the top of that, I kind of crossed it out and you got that. But you can read through the crossed out, I'm sure.
If the board didn't hold them accountable.
Yeah, I don't know, that doesn't sound like me, so I don't even know. what it
Yeah,
is.
I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes I just have one.
Where's your wife?
You had some strong words, but it wasn't that.
Yeah, no, that wasn't it. So we can just strike that sentence, and then at the end.
I might have said that about the city council. The city council expects to hold people accountable, we need to be more engaged with the community, but I don't recall making that statement. I probably made some statement like it, by the way. Just didn't make any sense.
So the paragraph that's right above where it says the board voted to support, right above there, where Councilman Waters was talking about the performing arts groups, I think we just need to strike the last part of that sentence because they're not really talking about Parks and Rec, they're talking about children and education and performing arts. And just put a period probably after that. And then the only other thing is down where we're talking about the field trip. And it just says it was a float trip.
When did you guys have a float trip?
We've wanted a
We were
float
talking
trip.
about doing a float
Oh.
trip, but that's it.
You don't have to learn how to ride a bike.
Any
I
other
could
proposed
potentially bring
changes?
that Longmont bike taxi.
If not, can I get a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
I'll make a motion to pass the minutes as amended.
Great. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Thank you. I don't see any public invited to be heard. So we'll move on to our hefty slate of old business.
Do you want to summarize what you did? What the board, sorry. I was on the way there. So much for being a grandpa.
Grandpa, tell us
Well, give me more detail, what I did.
Council.
What council decided and,
Sure. Well, we haven't made any decisions yet.
You kind of did.
Well, we gave some direction. The real decision, I think, decisions are gonna come in the context of the rec package. I think we've green lighted moving forward with, the staff's gonna come back with estimated costs, but I think the Arts Entertainment Center, given the public-private partnership nature of that, is gonna show up on the ballot. There's not a doubt in my mind that we will see the library show up on the ballot. And that may be connected to the recreation package. We'll just see what the package looks like. I know the mayor's on record periodically with her interest in seeing a branch library included in whatever we do with the recreation center. So if you can get a value add out of that. And the biggest question then became, I think we've all heard some scuttlebutt about something that might be coming from the Y in terms of the swimming community. If you stayed long enough to hear that part of the conversation. So a pretty interesting and creative and bold proposal from the Y that would, at the end of the day, salvage a actually create a rec center, swimming pool, ice sheet, all that you heard. We're over at Centennial Park, and going to be part of that. As I looked at the plat, it would take both the swimming pool and much of the parking lot along Alpine to construct 100 affordable housing units. And ultimately, with the land swap occurring, the Y would donate land to the city, right, on which the Y currently sits. I can't imagine that's not going to be part of the package. I think the tension, for whatever it's worth, will be whether or not that's the only part of the package, or if it's part of a bigger package. And I have actually verbalized a view here. I don't know if it's reflective of this group, but it would be helpful to know that the prospects of having a recreation package pass will be strengthened by doing something on the west side, by having it be more comprehensive, than only limiting this to Centennial Park, even though it's a bigger ask and it's a more complex proposal. That if it's only going to be Centennial Park, we're going to lose a big part of the community in terms of supporting that recreation proposal, in my opinion. So it'd be helpful to know whether or not that's an opinion that would be shared by people in this room or not.
And everybody
Is that what you, is that
yes,
helpful?
yes, thank you. And everybody received the Y proposal that I had sent out after the council meeting.
Yeah, it's a bombshell.
Yeah, and,
Is that what you were referring to a few months ago?
yeah,
Okay.
But honestly, I didn't quite understand some of it, so.
Yeah,
When
can
we
you
get
talk about it a little bit, just kind of give the,
so for,
do we have the?
Can you pull the map up? Steve, for the?
Yeah, I'll get there. Well, I'll go to aerial first, while Jeff tells me where something of the other drawings might be.
yeah,
Shared
I'll
drawings.
send those to you right now.
And to your question, Councilman, I mean, that is, I'm not gonna speak for the whole board, but my opinion is that the Centennial piece helps strengthen what we were already considering, in terms of a rec center. And so with both, you get locations in two places, you get, different opportunities related to the pool, you get, the ice facility helps complement, for those that have been looking for that. So I do feel like I didn't get a lot of support for the Centennial only.
I think I agree. I was gonna ask him, I guess you don't know yet what will actually be proposed for that Centennial part of it. Is it the 10 to 12 million commitment from the city?
Yeah.
That's basically it?
Yeah.
And I wasn't at the meeting to hear their characterization, but they seem pretty confident that once they have that, they're gonna move forward. That's my concern, is like the voting for what's not a guaranteed project to move forward, if it's funded.
No, well, the Y will move forward, not necessarily Longmont.
Right.
If that fails, the Y is, they're involved in Cheyenne, Wyoming right now.
They feel they have the funding to move
Colorado
forward.
Springs, this is the Y's new approach.
Yeah.
So if we were to fail to generate the capital needed to do this, I think, my assumption, I just happened to meet with the director the day before, talking about early childhood initiative because of what they do with childcare. And so I got a little bit of an advanced, look at this. And in that meeting, he talked about this as the wise approach across the country, that they have a number of options, that they're really excited about this possibility, especially because we're, in the process of putting a package on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to take a while. If this fails, I'm not certain where the $10 to $12 million is going to come from. And I mean, based on what we heard from Jim Golden the other night, there's going to be a lot of pressure on the capital improvement budget. And we're going to have maybe $5 million of new money to spend, and likely going to be on one-time expenditures in 2024. I mean, there's not going to be a lot of growth.
Yeah, the reason I asked, I think when it's presented, it's not committing to build it, it's committing funding that will then allow it to be built with a 90% chance of success, or whatever that assessment is.
Well, if it passes,
Right.
My assumption, we will have signed off on an agreement, an IGA or
Prior to
a public-private partnership development agreement,
Yeah.
far enough in advance that that's part of the
Okay, that's great.
proposal. We wouldn't leave a lot of question to whether or not we're going to do this.
Okay.
And if I were in the public, I'd be pushing for, be pretty specific in terms of timelines. You don't get, so Steve doesn't get caught in this whole staff with, this conversation happened a bit ago, right? Yeah, it's getting out this year.
Exactly.
It's been a while. Well, I know what these folks are dealing with, and I also understand how frustrating it is to be told and then not see it happen, right? I have that experience from time to time. Not with these guys so much, but I understand. I know how frustrating it is, and, but I also know the pressure they're under, and it's not easy. But it shouldn't be just a bunch of excuses either. We need to move forward on the things that are priorities for us. And this one should be, and I'll just, brighten my heart if if we put this together and it fails. People ought to just shut up about ever talking about kids and concerns about violence and attraction to gangs and all of the stuff that we're so anxious about in this town right now. So.
Oh, I think that right there, that's a campaign slogan, right there, that sounds good. Future should,
Water
nothing
said,
like-
shut the F.
No, I actually like to have that, because that actually, that is a much more compelling thing than I've heard for a little bit, so that was good, thank you.
Well, and I do think to that point, having both of these locations and the differences between them, I think really helps make that case more than
It just
without.
solves the problem of where to do this, and you've got a southwest Longmont that Dry Creek Park's been, I had, just so you know, I don't know where this is gonna go. This is only tangential to the package, but not unrelated to a bigger picture. I don't know, you all went to the open house or the public engagement process about the recreation package?
Yeah.
Coming off of that, we've received several email messages from folks who attended, who now want to rethink Dry Creek Park to quote unquote maintain it as an open space. And I get it. I understand the concerns about the built environment and what we're doing. But that was purchased with private funds, deeded to the city as part of a development agreement for the purpose of a park. People bought their homes. The city's made this commitment. It's been in a master plan since 2008. From my perspective, to go sideways, to take that off the board, would be a broken promise. It would be going back on the word of the city, and I just think that would be a mistake. That's not to say we're not going to continue to invest in open space. That was dedicated for a park, and I don't know where that's going to go in terms of issues that might surface during a campaign. But it does bring Southwest Longmont into this in, I think, a pretty powerful way. And I think we need Southwest Longmont if we're going to get this passed. Along with Northeast Longmont and all the interest that's been expressed in maintaining Centennial Park and the swimming pool as part of that package.
So, I don't think you said this explicitly, but just so everybody knows it wasn't there, part of my understanding of what council did was request staff to go back and kind of redraft what the recreation package would be that might be on the ballot. So considering what the proposal from the Y and the new recreation center and the improvements to the existing recreation center, and kind of come back with a new package that could be considered. Is that right?
Yep. But this is part of the package.
Yeah.
I have a petty question and a bigger question. Petty one is anybody concerned about the parking lot, like liability for baseball at Centennial Park?
It's not petty at all. That's the first thing I thought of.
It seems to be a lot, right?
There'll be an IGA with the school district for parking at Timberline.
Okay. That's about it. And then
Based on the graphic that they're showing, I don't know that that's what they're
That might not
There's
be
the
even
west
possible.
side.
Right. I have no idea.
Okay. The other one is the city interested in the Y property, and what would it do with it?
What I believe would happen is that the city would use that for some other affordable, attainable housing type of project. And again, it was all very new, so we hadn't had a lot of conversation. I think we had gotten it Thursday prior to the council meeting. So did I answer your question, Scott?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's the Y footprint.
Yeah.
Right there.
So,
For that, and that's the.
Did that help Aaron or more?
no. So, the Y, okay, I wanna put it in my understanding. The Y wants to build a rec center that is gonna be a Y rec center, but it will be, you don't have to have a membership to get in it, right?
We
And-
need to talk, I want to talk about that, but yeah.
Okay, so you don't have to have a membership to get into it. They just want some of the property that we have there. There's gonna be an IGA, which isn't a grocery. And, there's gonna be an IGA between the two. It's going to be built over where Centennial Pool is right now. And then they're talking about like raising the current Y right now, or just giving it to as a second lap pool, another lap pool.
It wouldn't be raised now, it would be donated, it would be a land swap. The Y and the city would trade properties. And every conversation I've heard would be to scrape the Y as it exists in favor or in deference to attainable housing.
Okay. I mean, there's no thought of just keeping the pool's okay at the Y. Keeping that pool as something, and there's no thought to that? Because,
a new pool.
huh?
They're gonna build a new.
I know, but there's just, I mean, I was a lifeguard at the Y for a long time. I know what lap lanes look like. They're just so crowded, so there's always, if there's like free lap lanes anywhere, it's always good.
That would only cost the city more money to do that.
Okay,
And so I don't think that keeping the Y as is not being considered.
okay,
A couple of things with this location. If we're gonna move forward with this, there would have to be a question on the ballot that would ask if the voters are okay with giving up parkland. So the south end of the proposed project for sure is in the park. We're still trying to identify, and we think Centennial Pool is not, but we need to verify that. But we cannot give away city parks without a vote of the people. So that would be a question that would need to be asked.
Sorry, separate from the voting or part of the package?
I think will have to be a separate question.
I think it will be a separate ballot question.
and will that
Could be like
affect
an
the
if
youth
or
center at
statement
all?
sort of thing,
No.
is my guess.
Okay,
No, maybe not. I'm not sure how to phrase that.
I'm
Right,
certain
because
it will-
it's on the other side of the park. It won't even affect them at all.
okay,
The other thing, I'm sorry?
I mean, except for maybe actually help the youth center.
Yeah, with being able
That's what I
to
was
have.
just thinking.
Yeah.
Right,
The thing that Recreation and the YMCA have had initial conversation is really your question about membership, no membership. And what we've talked about is creating a Y city membership. So if you're already a Y member, you would already get access, but there would also be a component of that would give you access or give Y members access to city facilities as well. Probably a little bit more expensive, but again, that's the level of detail that we're meeting with the Y again the 16th, I think it is. So that'll be the first meeting since
And vice versa too, if you have a city rep membership.
that you will have, yes, access to the Y.
so what does that do with people that don't have capital up front for memberships? I know in the so if we did that partnership, in the past, the YMCA is very, very generous with that kind of thing. It's really no barrier to get into the Y.
Right.
But it's a little harder to get in the rec center.
Yep.
And, yeah,
And we, at some point in time, will be going to city council to discuss that very thing with our cost recovery policy. Right now, we are required to recover 80% of everything we spend, short of free community events, some at-risk youth programming, and capital over $5,000, and then our part of field maintenance is not recovered either. So until that cost recovery policy is changed, we really don't have a lot of flexibility. We do have a scholarship program for kids 17 and younger, and if you have anybody you know, they can certainly apply for that. But we really can't be flexible until that policy is changed. The one thing I will mention that council approved in the budget this year was us to do some trial free swim lessons at Sunset Pool, and we'll be doing that this summer and just testing the waters, because in the staff's opinion, swim lessons are some of the most important things for kids, and want them to be as safe as possible if they fall into water. So we want to make sure that every kid in our community has access to swim lessons. We have a ways to go on our negotiations with the Y, but it really ticks all of the boxes of council goals with expanding childcare, doing the affordable housing, and there's one other one, and it's escaped me right now. But it really ticks the boxes more.
Maintaining a swimming pool.
Yeah, thank you. Yes,
An underserved community, part of the community.
yeah, that's a good.
So the one thing I would say is, if this fails, the issue at Centennial does not go away. At some point in time, we're either gonna have to close it down or reinvest in it. And it seemed like a very good bargain for the city, that if you remember in the survey that was done, we had proposed $7 million to convert the pool to a community center for $3 to $5 more million. Our community gets a full recreation center, which is really a big thing. The
And it's
YMCA,
actually less than redoing Centennial.
then if we were, we estimated
Right,
15
so-
million for us to convert it. The Y is really interested in expanding their ice program. They do a lot down in Lafayette, and they've really overgrown their capacity there, and that's one of the reasons they want the ice, and they really want to stay in the swim lane, lap swimming business as well. So by the Y choosing some of those things, it would allow the city in the new rec center to do some other amenities that would not compete with the Y as well. So we certainly, if the Y moves forward and they can do an ice rink, we certainly wouldn't want to do another ice rink down at the new recreation center.
What kind of amenities were you thinking of?
Down there? Well, things that we heard at the public meeting was fitness was a big thing, basketball courts. By far, swimming was one of the big items, probably the largest of what was mentioned there. And we would probably look at limited number of lanes, maybe 4, so that people could still do some lap swimming, but really would be looking to a facility that would be more like an indoor water park, and really has a good design for the Learn to Swim program.
So what is the timeline for the staff to come back to council with this?
We haven't set that date. The next time the city staff is meeting is May 25th. So that will be our next direction. Gives us some time to review the information that was we received at the public meeting. It gives us some time to work on the proposal with the YMCA, and once we've had a chance to go through the information, we'll present all that to the board. It should be on the website, I'm guessing, by next Monday at the latest, and when it's available, we'll make sure we send all of that out to you all. And then there's the component about some of the work to be done at the rec center is still one of the components. And I don't know that we've really talked a lot of detail about that, but we have multiple things that we as staff have talked about. Number one, just upgrading paint and bringing it more to the current standards. The locker rooms need some pretty significant work. If you've been in there, they have those little cubby areas. We want to take out the walls so that it's one open area instead of the little cubbies where 2 people really can't comfortably be in there without somebody's body.
I honestly, I really like the cubbies.
Do you?
Yeah, I like the privacy. I like the semi-privacy. Maybe women don't stick their butts in each other's like so, but like if you have but I like the cubbies.
Yeah.
But like that makes me feel more comfortable. A big open area, and I feel super vulnerable woman.
The challenge is that if we're not very busy, it works out well. But when we have days where we have 1,200 people there, it is really a problem.
Yeah.
The other thing that we would go ahead.
Sorry, but it's just going to switch to, so if you do that, just be prepared that you have to have 4,000 toilet stalls, because no one will change in that they'll change in the toilet stalls. that's where they will be.
In some ways, I
Yeah.
would agree with that.
Yeah, I
But we're
mean,
not adding, we won't add fixtures
You
because
can just
that's
do a
a,
mix, like open one part and keep some.
so,
These are
Yeah.
security too.
Yeah.
It's, when it's a little more open, like that, you know, for there's less opportunity for theft. So that's one.
because you can see right down there.
I'm thinking of-
Yeah.
I'm thinking of families feeling safe with changing.
We're not.
But we still have the cabanas.
Yeah.
Yes. The other,
Okay,
yeah,
it's true.
the other thing we would look at doing is removing the gang showers and trying to go to providing individual showers for everyone. That is really, the gang showers is really an outdated thing and we really need to get that changed. We are looking at the potential of expanding the cardio area down into the front lobby, so a portion of that would be able to allow us to have more cardio equipment, which is really a challenge at times at the rec center. We look at putting in a new small water slide, the one that's in the leisure pool. We've had some conversations with consultants and really want to have something that would be a lot more fun for the kids to play on. And then the final thing I'd mention is we have some pretty serious groundwater issues at the rec center, and we need to do something to get that addressed.
Before, I'm sorry.
I just was, so Wise timing sounds like it's pretty imminent, this thing, you know, they're on the city to make something happen, and then they're ready to pull the trigger or whatever. How long, then Centennial Pool is then out of commission, right? So we're out of the pool for how long this construction process?
Well, I would guess, Scott, that we would do that agreement early on, so our users of Centennial could use the current Y as well, so that they would still be able to lap swim. I don't know where the Y is with the tax credits, which is a big part of this. I don't know if they've already started to apply for that or what that.
My understanding, their development partner, I think, is headquartered in Chicago. And what my understanding is, from my conversation with Chris, is they'd already applied for $9 million in tax credits. And I think they were the 9% credit, tax credit in that cycle, I think.
Okay.
And they were optimistic, but waiting to get a response to their proposal. They're moving forward, I think, based on the assumption that their development partner is going to bring that kind of capacity to the capital stack.
The other thing I would mention is if Centennial Pool would go away and we would get a new rec center, probably most of the programming that goes on at Centennial Pool would be relocated to the Longmont Rec Center, thinking that it would become more of the programming space than what the new center would be, which would be really based more on drop-in and pass holder use.
So you think that there's no chance that that this could just be our rec center? There just has to be 2 rec centers? Because the people that have been in contact with me are all the anti-Dry Creek Park. Like, they don't want that at Dry Creek Park. They're like, we were promised a park and we have a park. We don't want a rec center.
The rec
They were
center's been on
fine.
the master plan forever. I mean,
As
that's
you
part, when we
agree.
bought our house, we were excited about the fact that there was gonna be a rec center. So
Okay.
It's always
Okay.
the rec center has always been there. We also had a location at Quail where an ice rink could have been built, but it makes no sense at all to build another large facility at the same location. The real challenge for North Longmont is that there isn't any city-owned space that we could build this type of facility there. It would only add on to the cost of doing something by having to buy property.
I think the most compelling challenge for Dry Creek is the ingress, egress.
Yeah.
Like if you could
And we,
solve that and show people how you're
We'll talk about that
solving
in new
it?
business.
Yeah, I've got that pulled up there, so.
Okay,
so
well, I
we've
think,
been having conversation because that is a real concern.
yeah,
Where if we have the rec center, new rec center open, we have all the soccer fields being used because that's gonna be synthetic turf. And then it's time for Altona and Silver Creek to either start their day or end their day, it's gonna be
Have a
a mess.
parade.
Yeah.
right, I mean, that's, I think if you can resolve that issue, I think that, you know, I was at that public meeting and, you know, I think that a lot of people were raising questions about the natural area,
Yeah.
which, you know, I'm sympathetic to, but I do think that you could incorporate that into the design. I mean, I went walking out there and I think you could build it, like, and keep some of those natural features.
I think if you just like look at the way the parks have evolved over the years,
There's the master plan right there. This is what was adopted by council. This is not open space, this is never meant to be open space, this is always meant to be an active recreation area, packed with as much active recreation as possible.
So that's what they were talking about, those sounded more like the
They're ta-
wetland areas
there's the
and stuff, and I
they're-
think,
Yeah, they're talking, Steve,
the future.
where the rec center, the proposed.
Oh, over
rec
here?
centers- No, no.
Oh, down here?
That, all of that area with the hill.
Yeah, the hill's gonna be over here, now, we need to look and see if we wanted to have people bike on it now, I wasn't really anticipated back when the master plan was done, but that's not a problem to
and I
look at
think
that.
if you looked at that and looked at kind of a, like mitigating the impact to the existing wetlands and, you know, what I mean, thinking about how could you maintain habitat in the way that you build, because a lot of it was teachers who were taking their students, you know, from Blue Mountain and Eagle Crest and stuff and just walking over there.
I would look
And
at
I feel
it,
like you can do indoor, outdoor programming. in some
You
ways.
could, there's also the native area along the greenway that goes all the way back to, Willow Farm. That's very,
yeah.
very native back through there. The only reason that that area has the grass is that we had to put some type of grass there to protect the dirt from blowing away, but it was never intended to be a wildlife or nature area.
But it seems like it kind of is, and people like it. So sometimes, I don't know, sometimes can't we just say, hey, this was an accident that worked, and this is what people want? And could we not have it be like so cut and dried where we're either having play spaces where people can play with like stuff below the playground, and then over here's a natural area that you can look at, way over there, you can look at that. Can we have areas that people can interact with, but they are still natural areas?
Well, they can,
Well, that's what I
but not
think,
at
yeah.
this site.
Well, I think
But
it's
that's-
still incorporated around the landscaping. I mean, even the current rec center has like that pond and, you know,
Yeah,
they have sort of wetland areas and,
we've evolved in our
Small,
park
but-
planning over the past 20 years as far as doing, well, actually not even 20 years, the past 50 years, as far as doing wall-to-wall turf. We don't do that anymore. We include natural native grasses around areas that are not being targeted for active recreation. That doesn't mean that they're being cultivated for prairie dogs or anything like that. Like, there wouldn't be any prairie dogs within this whole site. That would not be,
People are gonna be bummed. There's a lot of people that are pretty into it.
we have already are under agreement to move them to Pueblo, the prairie dogs, next year. That process is already in place and getting the permits.
But see, what I don't understand is, first of all, why we even go to people or pretend that we're going to people when people are saying that's not what they want, and you're like, oh, it's already decided, it's already decided. That is what I hear. Like, why, like,
There
why
were
do you
a
even
few
pretend?
people that said that.
Yeah.
There are also
Okay.
people online that love this site as well.
Okay, well that could be it. But what I am hearing is that when people are bringing their concerns, like, oh, it's a done deal, and I'm going to be honest, that's all I hear from the city. I have never been to a city council meeting and brought up an issue that has passed. Never. I have come in here and brought up ideas, and every time there's like an answer that people have already thought about why my idea, so why do we even go to people?
But we went to people in 2000.
Thousands of people involved in that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're also taking their opinion into mind from when this was developed.
Okay.
I don't know that I agree with you, and I think I'm speaking solely for Parks and Rec right now. I think over the years we have done a very good job, probably better than anyone else in the organization, to really hear what our community wants and really trying to give them as much as we can. And I agree, not everybody likes this idea now, but for the last 15 years, this has been the plan. People, I can't tell you how many people over the years have called me and said, my realtor told me you're building a rec center, when can I expect it to be built? And there was never any funding to do that. Otherwise, it would have been done.
Okay, so I mean, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
But the people that have reached out to me are the people that have, they're reaching out to me. So I feel like I'm obligated to be their voice on the, on the board, because they've reached out to me. Does that make sense? I'm not saying
absolutely.
that, but this is just my experience of what I see is like, and it's like,
I think the potential, once these are decided, also stop advocating for them, right? So people who would be supporting it if it was an open issue feel it's already settled, right? So they're not reaching out to say,
or
we
they
should
moved
do
away.
this.
So Councilman Waters has a comment.
Well, just, what would be the status of this property had not been flooded in 2013?
It did not have any water in it at all.
Well, how close, where would it be in terms of development? Would it still be on the?
Oh, yeah, as far as being
sorry,
distracted by the project.
Oh, I could see phase 2 having been done by now. If
Yeah,
the flood hadn't
so
gone
part of
away,
it,
I could see
Okay.
you
that.
mentioned a mistake.
Extrapolating.
The flood wasn't a mistake. The fact that it remains as undeveloped is to a large degree a product of a 2013 flood that set everything back. You wouldn't even have this conversation without the flood, right? And for me, where I mentioned earlier about, our word to one another. For me, to say, what, we listened to thousands, I wasn't part of the council, but somebody listened to thousands of people then. But those who have now are in the city have said, well, we have a different view. Are we going to just discount what we heard then? And here's the other thing I hear from the development community: let us build on all this open space. The reason housing is so expensive is the county and the city bought up every piece of developable land around the city to create a buffer. The reason housing prices have gone up so much is the cost of land. Let us build on that open space and we'll deliver you affordable and attainable housing. That's what I hear all the time. My response is, it makes no more sense to me to do that than it would be to go back on our word. I wouldn't go back on our word to our folks who voted for open space. But I think we have the equal obligation to the people to whom we listen, who have been counting us to deliver on that part of town. I hear the equity concern as well. And I've heard it from other council members. People who live in that part of the town are affluent, they have all the automobiles they need, and I understand that perception. My response is, are they less worthy of the city's following through on its obligation? I think we owe something to everybody in town, and I care as much about equity, but I'm not willing just to write off part of town because of, somebody is more affluent than somebody else. We've got to balance that out. But I do think if we were to go back on this, it raises the question, why wouldn't we go back on all of our open space agreements?
That's an interesting thought.
Well, I wouldn't want to do that,
Yeah.
but I think it begs that question.
Yeah.
In fact, the comments I've heard in my email correspondence have been, leave that alone, go find other space. The only other space that's undeveloped in the area is open space that we own that's large enough. It's like, you don't really want us to do that, do you? And the answer would be no, obviously. So I just think that there are a lot of voices, and every concern is legitimate. I'm not discounting anybody's concern. All the voices matter, but you got to balance what the city heard then, with where we are today, and all that's occurred in the interim, like a flood.
one thing I did hear, and so I appreciate this, because this is what I think, it's conversation. This is how things work, is with conversation. So, I have heard, and I thought it was actually pretty brilliant, that there are places that are developed that are not pristine, that we could, I mean, the city paid to, like, the mall, oh my god, like that, there's just so much area there, the old Walmart, you know, there are all these places that, I mean, their owners can't want, I mean, first of all, we did the work, we scraped the Walmart, like that was us. So there's all these places that already have development on them. And it's kind of it intrigued me. I was like, well, yeah, why not? Like, that is a big asphalt mess there.
It is.
It is a big asphalt mess, and why couldn't that be a good, like, I don't, like, when I go to, like, think the YMCA area does not need more attainable housing. We need to start, like, that area is already economically depressed, quite, so putting more in there is kind of sad, and we're just like creating, like, we're not mixing different, like, levels of socioeconomic status in there. So, but
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
right by the mall, you know, like that's
Just so you know, there is a plan to
good.
develop all that asphalt. The vision initially for the Village of the Peaks was a mixed-use development.
Okay,
And because of financing and the developers, a lot of the live work or just the housing that was surrounding
Uh-huh.
never got developed. But there is, I've seen Tony Chacon's
Seems so small.
plan for the development of all that asphalt into attainable and affordable housing.
And it's my understanding that the city does not, or the Village at the Peaks, does not own the property that Walmart used to sell.
No, they
No,
don't.
they
It's
don't.
the village.
They
Yeah,
tore
completely
it
different.
oh, they tore it down?
Yes.
They were shooting over the roof.
I wasn't talking about
Okay.
Walmart in particular, but much of that
Yeah,
asphalt,
okay.
especially on the north side,
Okay.
is
So-
all in a
I'm
plan.
gonna suggest that we sort of wrap this up just because we still have a number of items, and I do actually wanna talk about the master plan feasibility study, which is related. But I would also say, I think, you know, as we talk through this, obviously there's lots of strong feelings on all sides, and I think it is important for us as board members to represent viewpoints we hear, but I hope we can, you know, just continue to do it in a respectful manner and share the viewpoints we're hearing, recognize that they're all, you know, valuable and important, and, you know, appreciate you guys continuing to listen to those and, you know, doing what you can to make sure that those get carried forward into the considerations, because that is part of being a board member, is we want to be able to be a voice for those different folks and make sure that they get heard.
Could I, before we leave the subject, I just wanted to go, Dr. Waters, when you started this off, you kind of said that that recreation package that you were tasked with bringing back, you were hoping to get some more direction from this board because you weren't quite sure if that's what everyone felt. When I took this back to some leadership, I don't think they were quite convinced that there was this whole recreation package. So I think it's been a good conversation. But I don't know if the board wants to do more to try to, if you get your answer, I think I have a better answer to go forward. When we're tasked to pull together, you know, a cost package of this, I think the idea of what your first question would really help me a lot. Do you think you got it here tonight?
I think I heard some agreement that if the entire recreation proposal is simply Centennial Park, it's going to be that we've got to. Scott's comment during, I think, one of these conversations and at the council meeting, or at least maybe it was when we asked to have coffee, that there's a lot, and it's not just in the recreation community, it's across the community, it's across the larger community. People want to see something in it for them. Like, why would I vote for this? There's some benefit for me or my community or the people I care about. And that's a tough question to answer or sell to make if it's just the Centennial Park project with the line. That's my thinking, and I think I've heard Scott say this. I think I heard Paige say this. But that's going to be, I don't know if it's a flashpoint, that's going to be a tension point. as we go through this. I can just tell you, based on conversations I've already heard with council. I don't know how big an issue, but there'll be lively.
I was going to just give my clear feedback that I think a package that has multiple things in it that's as compelling as that is a much easier cause to rally behind. To our discussion last week about it being important that there's active support for things, not just passive support for things. I think it's much easier to connect that when it's not one facility, it's an overall improvement. And it's not like it's twice the cost. It's not with building 2 rec centers, it's adding on something that's also solving a problem for people as well. I think there's a lot you can do to position it and package it and talk about how it solves problems, creates opportunities, and answers priorities, but it's much easier to get behind from my perspective.
Can I add one more thought, and then I know you want to move on. I've seen 2 posts recently by a former elected official. You may have seen those. And snapshots of the Epic Center and the Fort Collins Center and the Broomfield Center, right? There for swimming lanes. And a narrative with the post that Longmont could have had a facility like this, if not finished, underway, close to completion, had we not had so much opposition in 2019. Which I think is true. The tone of the posts were a little harsh. And at least one of them drew a response from a member who's a pretty active member of this community, who was part of the opposition. And I was struck by the messaging that went back and forth. And I think whoever wants to champion this won't be surprised by it, but needs to be prepared. The message was, you wanted us to support something that I will never use, nor will my family or nobody in my space. Why would I vote for something to tax myself to support something that'll never benefit me or my family? Now, my reaction to that is, well, I guess we're never going to build another school, another greenway, another park, But that mentality was part of that opposition and was reiterated just weeks ago in this exchange. So I think it's still out there, and I'm just anticipating what this means to us as a community, what we owe generations to come across this community, and especially the angst about options for kids. And anybody familiar with asset mapping as a methodology for determining the degree to which children in a community are more or less likely to make bad decisions? At-risk kids to start with, making risky decisions. Drug addiction, gang affiliation, getting involved. There's a whole research base behind, in a way to score assets, where there's a direct correlation between a set of assets and healthy decisions by kids. When I first went on council, I thought surely other people would be enthusiastic about engaging in this. And 5 years later, I'm still wondering. But I do think this may be the best opportunity this community has for a long time to use this as a way to invite a broader discussion about this. Is just one. The Arts and Entertainment Center would be another part of that asset package, not just recreation. It begins to flesh out for a community what translates into better, healthier decisions for children for decades to come. So, I'm done. But I hope that's part of what you're thinking about in terms of message.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. I think this will be a little easier conversation, probably a little shorter. So we had our first public meeting last week. We have had multiple meetings with the consultants. We'll continue weekly. As far as the public meeting, we're very happy with the amount of participation. Doing a hybrid meeting is a challenge. Mm-hmm. And we learned that a little there. We were told that it would be a challenge, and it was true. I call it more successful than not, but one of those things that we live and learn. The plan for the next meeting, we're targeting, I think it's June 6th or so. Probably do an online version and a live version separately. That one will be taking the information that the consultants and us heard. We are hearing, we are there doing their research, putting that together. They'll have a package of what a facility like this could look like. So it's not it'll involve rendering, but it's certainly not the facility we want to get. It involves the sort of amenities that we've talked about. So we're just in that process right now. One of the things I know people want to see is getting that stuff online. I think we're really close to that. Meeting tomorrow with our marketing communications manager, one of them here is. Yeah, getting linked to the comments, trying to put that all together. Yeah, and get it.
Doing the meeting summary.
Yeah. That's,
They have the results of what they collected that.
yeah, try to get as much information to the public as possible, linking it through the recreation center page or recreation main page. So we should have, I would certainly think we'll have that before the end of the week. And, what's that?
Do you have the Village Center stuff?
I didn't bring it. It's sitting right there. So I have a Build-A-Center for us.
Do you have an online one that people can do and send
I
you?
have an access to that. My.
So they had a really fun
I could go get
activity at the
Yeah,
public
how about if
meeting.
we move on and then
Yeah.
come back to
It'll
that?
take me 10 minutes if you want to get it. If that's okay.
Well, let's just see if people want to do it. So they had a paper, like a rec center, and all the little pieces of stickers of what you want and a budget. And you have to like build what you would put in your rec center. And I thought it would be fun for us to do it.
I can 10 minutes.
Anytime I get to stick stickers on something,
Well, don't get too excited. The word is
Yeah.
the stickers are difficult at best.
They are.
Oh my God, yeah.
That's
There's a lot of
okay.
complaints about
That's
them.
okay. That's
Oh,
fine.
everybody can-
That'll be fun.
So that's all I have on
Line down,
that.
aren't they,
for
for
the
sticker
report, so.
people from town?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you really don't mind.
I've just been asking every kid I know to tell me what they want in the rec center.
Well, this is really cool.
They have some good ideas.
We'll do the, so we'll have to skip the fee until Ben gets back too.
So June 6th, then was the date you mentioned?
That's, I think is that Wednesday?
Yeah.
Tuesday.
The Wednesday,
No,
the
it was-
7th.
yeah, it's for sure
We're
not.
not doing it on the 6th.
Oh, okay, next
That would
meeting
be
is June 6th.
Or
That's
it would be
Is
like
it a
that.
meeting?
Yeah.
Good thing that it says done.
No, the next meeting will be June
Says what?
12th.
Oh,
The next CAB meeting will be June 12th.
Yes, we're talking about the next new.
A new public meeting, next public meeting.
Yeah. So there's also the open forum for council on the 30th, right?
May 30th?
We should also think about if anyone is available to come and just continue to strengthen this message. There were a few of us that were at council last meeting and were able to deliver the resolution and just provide comments. So I think if we can keep that, I mean, the arts and entertainment folks are indeed quite well organized. So I think, part of my thinking on this is the sooner that if there's an actual package and you can think about what voices, would want to come and speak and support, that the better we're gonna be sooner that we know kind of what that will be, what it will look like, so. Okay, so should we move to the retreat agenda?
Yeah.
Did you didn't include it in the
No.
packet, did you? Do you
No.
want to just talk about what we talked about?
Yep. So what we have proposed is that and we need to talk about a starting time. The first 30 minutes being for private members to get to know you time, and I think Aaron, you were gonna lead an exercise, is that what I heard?
She just
You didn't hear it?
requested
I requested it, but I would be glad to. Yeah, I'll be glad to. I just gotta look around and see, read the crowd here, but yeah,
Okay.
I do it, yeah.
All right, then the next item would be 90 minutes to discuss master plan process overview and discussion and how we use them and how they interlap and work together.
And you guys are set for that?
Set with that, but yes, we're working on that.
How lean do you want to keep this meeting? How quickly? I'm not a lean person. I'm always full of lots of comments and things like that.
Well, I
And so I'm happy to attend, but if I'm not.
Oh, no, I mean, yes, attend. I thought you meant like how much detail
Oh,
you
no.
want.
Oh, well.
Nice try, Tom.
I was, as of 2 hours ago, I was a maybe, so.
I thought you were talking about the snacks, and they should not be lean.
I would think of it as like how you guys onboard new project managers who have no background in the city
It's
process.
been a bit of a mess so far.
But that's how confused we are, right? Is
Okay.
things that we hear about.
So I'm gonna name some plans, and I want you to tell me whether or not these are the plans you're thinking of or not. Envision Longmont. Parks, Recreation and Trails Master Plan.
Yes.
The pending updated Recreation Master Plan.
Yes.
The Open Space Master Plan.
Yep.
Wildlife.
So that's like, that's as far as I
Right.
understand.
Right.
And
Wildlife
then there's
master
like the proliferation.
And Longmont Municipal Code, the Development Code, chapter 15.
Yeah, but then it's like the, all the individual site master plans and like how do they fit and how does that inform the CIP and like how do they work together?
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
It is. I can't wait to find out. It's a big day for me. 25 years in the organization, I get to find out how my job works.
Oh my god, that's great.
Whatever it makes sense.
Are
But
we gonna
that's
have
what
that?
I think we just want to understand what are the primary plans, how do they work together and how do you use them or not to make decisions?
Or not. Will we have internet access? Are we gonna do it in the senior center? Is that where?
Yeah.
Yeah, same room how we were?
I
Or
believe so,
something.
yeah,
But
somewhere there.
We'll have a screen.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
that's probably important.
So then,
And then a break, and then 45 minutes for accessibility of information and where people can find that information.
Yep. I think that relates to some of the master planning stuff. Like I just searched the Longmont master plan and there's not a place where they're all the things you named are listed. So it gets together with that kind of, it's good.
And then,
I live there. I just can't find it in 5 minutes.
I don't think a retreat's gonna solve our website challenges.
no, the topic
Agreed.
was more about like how is information about the work that we have purview over made available. And I think you were kind of some of the one of the
I actually reached out
communications folks.
I actually did reach out to Sandy when it was coming up. I haven't heard back, so I'll reach out again this week. So, but I did include that notes, those
Okay.
minutes to Sandy.
and then finally, we would adjourn and talk for 60 minutes about the ballot initiative.
So we talked about whether or not like we needed to adjourn or didn't need to adjourn, just
It's
to kind of
not
create,
that formal of a meeting.
right, to
Yeah.
create separation.
Yeah.
So, but the intent of that last hour is to talk about how we might want to engage in, sort of supporting recreation on the ballot if it makes it onto the ballot.
So,
Great.
what time would you all like to start on Saturday?
Say earlier the better.
I would
6?
I would agree.
7 would be okay, but not 6.
8?
8 or 8:30 is what we
Eight.
talked about.
Yeah, that's fine.
8.
Early's good for me.
8 o'clock, okay. Any particular thing you would like for lunch? The sandwiches, is that okay?
It's fine.
Okay.
Do you have it like on a Sunday?
Yeah, we'll send it. Yeah.
Burritos.
I'd be okay with those too.
Yeah.
Or sandwiches.
Anything's fine.
It's really good taco truck.
Yeah.
There were about 12
Can
good
we just
taco trucks
drive
there on
them over
Saturday. Right
Oh, we're
across.
there, how was that? I
It was
didn't get over
amazing.
there, was it?
It was really good.
No, that's right, there's a lot of crowd, I drove by.
There were a lot of cars.
There were a lot of people.
What thing on Saturday?
That's single wide.
Okay.
It was
Oh,
all-
okay.
it was-
I
it was
got there, the
amazing.
wait at the food trucks was about 45 minutes.
Oh, really?
It got pretty long.
It
I
wasn't that
was there early.
My family's taste testing, that was my Christmas present, every taco truck in
There you go.
Longmont, so I've got ideas.
All right. We need a blog post on that. That's good.
Okay, so retreat agenda, sound,
It sounds like the accessibility thing is contingent upon somebody else.
Yeah, well, we
Do
can.
we have a backup topic or anything?
No, we can still work on that. I mean, we can walk through that, what we have and stuff. But yeah.
Okay.
And we can share that. Yeah.
I think it would be good though, because so your colleagues
Yeah.
can hear feedback directly without you having to be the intermediary.
Except for now he's the intermediary saying, you gotta work on Saturday, so. Yeah.
It's only,
That's
Yeah, that's what I said for you.
Yeah.
That's not fair for city employees. You're on Monday night. So, we can just-
haven't had a day off
Tuesday.
in 5 weeks. Not one day off in 5 weeks. I'm dying.
So do we wanna, is there any new business?
We were gonna cover the,
Access.
yeah,
Do you wanna
under
talk about that?
items from staff. Well, we can do the Union Reservoir update because that's David and Steve.
Oh, well, let's do that.
Yeah, yeah, I,
He's like, oh, so many.
yeah, I think that's probably more on me. I think one of the things that I just wanted to touch on was I think in the meetings, Harold's been talking about Union Reservoir and the idea that there may be alternative ways to, for the community to get some of the amenities built out there without having to use the funds that would compete with these other ideas. So how to move that off is still not lose traction on moving forward, since the community has definitely said they want to see something out there. I'm on the Union Reservoir board. Union Reservoir Company has had access to a lot of oil and gas revenue. Those oil and gas revenues have to be used in a way that benefit all the shareholders. So the city can't say, hey, we want a recreation facility, use those dollars to do it. However, there's things that the Reservoir Company could do that would align with what is beneficial for the city's long-term plans and the Reservoir Company. One of the things we want out there is a loop trail around that reservoir. The Reservoir Company definitely would like a crusher fine maintenance trail around that property, which, just like Macintosh, those maintenance trails can often double as a trail as well. To make that trail really work, there's not a whole lot of room between County Road 26 and the current beach area. So the Reservoir Company, again, wanting their maintenance road in there and to eventually expand the reservoir, has the potential ability to use those dollars to move County Road 26 to allow for that additional space, which will allow them to expand the reservoir, which is a benefit to all the shareholders.
And not use street front tax.
And not have to use street front, tax funds to do that. So it's a way that we aren't pulling reservoir companies out to do street front, to do city rec projects, but not having to use city dollars to help them to benefit the reservoir company. We need to work with some landowners up on the north end of the property to help to delineate property lines.
Yeah.
If you look at these neighbors, you see, have actually cut access. I've talked about this in this before, that we need to put some sort of work with these neighbors, put in some sort of living fence barrier, some sort of barrier to make sure that we can get a trail through out there without being, we'll be in their backyard, but trying to minimize that impact. They're able to do that. And then also, there's a lot of grants out there to expand the actual physical capacity of the reservoir at this point, and then use some of those dollars to help leverage those at NRCS and other federal agencies to see if we can get that capacity built out. So there's a lot of dominoes that have to work together, but I think there's, as Harold's alluded to, we took that to the Reservoir Company, and they are willing to, they didn't vote to actually do any of those. They actually said it was okay for us to go back and work with partners and shareholders or stakeholders to see if that would be something that they would be interested in doing. So I think we kind of had the green light from the Reservoir Company that we could go back and talk to the city, talk to the neighbors, talk to NRCS, and see if these are some actual ways we could get some of this shared work done that then actually leads to the ability for the city then to save some of those dollars also, that we're not moving that road. Those dollars can go to campgrounds or facilities within the park.
Has the city pursued at all increasing ownership in the company?
So we have, and that's the piece too.
65, right?
Yeah, we have significant ownership, but it doesn't really, I mean, unless we own all of it, we still have a fiduciary responsibility to the company, and that's a entity other than the city. So if you have one of the private landowners that says, putting that rec center, I mean, that campground there does nothing to help me maintain my water right, we're still accountable to that.
Yeah, I would just reinforce that this is setting everything up we need in order to do the Union Master Plan recreation expansion. We're getting the reservoir expanded to where it's going to be from a water storage vantage point is a huge portion of making that successful. But right now, we're not showing funding for any recreational changes or expansions beyond maintenance at the southeast corner or southwest corner.
Great, so that's different than I heard last time. So I wanted.
Do you want to talk about the water storage piece
So,
as well?
Water storage, the city owns most of the property around the reservoir, which would actually raise the elevation water, probably somewhere steep. You just say up with his hands kind of waggling around. We try to keep it pretty consistent down here, but it'd actually push it back up. The dam would move out a little bit down here, and then we would again bring the water level up through these areas.
The water right that the city owns is we can expand anywhere from 5 to 12 feet. And when I started here, I asked that question in 1999. They were told the decision was going to be in 15 to 20 years, and it's still 15 to 20 years.
See, I didn't make that up.
Right, no, that is a running joke, and
They got like funding or something, right, that made the city decide to switch the focus to this versus including it on the ballot.
Yes, that's where I think that's where between the reservoir company having their increased oil and gas revenue, NRCS having federal dollars, the local St. Mary Left and Water Conservancy District being willing to help with that. Those pieces all have together. There's nothing right now other than the Union Reservoir Company saying we're willing to pursue that way of funding some of these projects that benefit the reservoir company and benefit the shareholders in that. So, and I think when we talk about increasing the reservoir, there's capacity within it, but also increasing the amenities out there. And this has the potential to do both.
Okay, so if I'm understanding this right, Harold is saying, okay, that pull Union Reservoir, any improvements of Union Reservoir out of any recreation package and don't talk about it anymore. Like that's what this is what is in my little brain that says, because they are willing to be partners with us in building this cool trail and possibly increasing capacity. But you're not going to get a bathroom there, and you shouldn't push a bathroom at Union Reservoir or a campground. That's not going to go on this ballot initiative, or like that shouldn't go in the recreation package because somebody here is going to help us pay for a trail.
So I think that frees up other city dollars then to put towards those recreational pieces. So I'm not sure yet how funding works. I actually just sent Joni the meeting minutes from that Union Reservoir meeting, which was last Thursday. So those are all the pieces. If we get these additional dollars here, how does that free up other city dollars to do some of the things we've planned on as part of our CIP projects?
Okay, so instead of putting it on the ballot, we're just going to hope that our dollars are free and we can use it. Is that what we're like, instead of putting it in the package?
That's what I heard is if there's 10 things that have to be done to meet that master plan, there's a new option for doing the first 6 of them. It doesn't involve funding it through a ballot measure. And then we can come back and fund it through a different measure in the future that is smaller.
Okay, but interesting, because our voting and what we've seen from people around, the interest in Union Reservoir and helping out Union is way higher than it is for a new rec center. And we're going to be like, oh, we'll push that down the road. And like right now we're saying, oh, if we do this ballot measure, this is like our only chance for the next bajillion years, and we're not going to have it. Well, why is it not the only chance? And why is this YMCA gonna help us out with this any different than I
think there's a
this is important. A bathroom there, a real bathroom at Union Reservoir is like a rec center. Like it is like, whoa! I mean, Union Reservoir is like the coolest thing. And we don't have a bathroom there, like, right? Like, it's like a big deal. I don't want to take it off. I don't want to take Union Reservoir. I think that's what's going to make people pass. That's where, like, Union Reservoir is so popular. People love it. And they would vote for this whole package in order to get the improvements to Union Reservoir. And if they are willing, if somebody else is willing to help us build that trail, that's great. Take the trail off there, but keep the campground, keep the bathhouse, like actual real toilets that don't stink, right? Like it's a serious thing. Like that's the thing. Keep those things on that, because I think that there are many thousands of people that will vote for this just because that's on the ballot.
And that means the 25th, is that next when you talk, is there one sooner than that? I think these are things for this
It
group to
was,
really,
yeah.
that we can definitely take back. Like I say, I'm taking back the information that, Will's talked about, and I think it's pretty clear that he's seen other ways of potentially doing that. This would be a piece of how it could do that, but I think timing is gonna be something that I think the leadership group and Jeff and I are gonna have to share with everyone what we think is gonna make this work, and councils and others will have to make that decision, but it's good input.
Yeah.
What's everybody else think?
I don't understand the cost option. I don't think you do either yet.
No.
I think it was 15 million was the original.
Yeah, we're at 18 or 19 now.
Yeah, but this would reduce that somewhat
Yes.
significantly, but we don't know how much.
No, we don't know how much.
The 18 or 19 million doesn't include the loop trail or the road relocation, so it would not. But what it's gonna do is make it successful. If this is the new park space and this is the improved water level, it's gonna be a much greater recreational experience. To be able to hit here rather than having to walk down dry lake bed, because there's no way to build this down here and then pick it up here when the reservoir expands. This is the proper way to develop Union, is to expand the reservoir to its ultimate size and then build invest in expensive recreational amendments or improvements around it. So it will be more successful, but it's not the sequence I think that the public would like.
But there are things, we can get a loop trail around it, we can
Yes,
get those
yeah.
other pieces.
And that's one of the biggest recreational things out there, is the loop trail.
Yeah,
And the loop trail is like really, it's,
Right.
I mean, it's to where the sailboat area is 26, where it exists now. It's not the final loop trail that you still need to have a road change in order to have the full loop trail.
What we're trying to do is
Right.
move the road to do the proper final loop trail.
Oh, okay.
That's the goal.
I think what I'm hearing is there's some new information and options, and it'd be good to present that back to us in a
Yes.
clearer way.
Yep, I think by the next meeting we can do that, because we'll have.
I think like I said, there's like 10 different things that have to be done. I'm not clear on the sequence or the relative cost of them. And what you said sounds exciting, but then Steve said it's not really that big of a deal. And I'm lost as to what actually is.
I think.
I didn't mean it. The loop trail is a great deal. That is, I think, one of the biggest
It doesn't
recreational.
reduce our cost at all, though. The estimated cost.
It does not reduce the 18 million down.
Right.
That's
I
not-
don't understand how that is, which is what I'm missing. So that'd be
It wasn't in the 18.
Right, yeah.
Right.
It's already been funded
It's
for
already funded
about 2
project,
million,
yeah.
yeah. So it's already a funded project. We're trying to work that into the 8.5 initiative.
Yeah.
The loop trail?
The loop trail is part of it.
All I'm saying is, it's hard to keep track of those
Right.
things without you guys laying them out in order. It's all in your head, and I appreciate that, but we get lost in it, so that's the.
We have the same conversation, David.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, if anybody wants some interim feedback, to go back to Harold. Our voting last time was on, like, the support, our main votes were for Union Reservoir as a board.
Well,
And then next was a new rec center. So if we are any reflection to the broader community, the Union Reservoir needs to be part of this package.
So I think the polling data.
Yeah,
What you're voicing is consistent with the polling.
yeah, that's what I am, and it needs to be part of this package. Even, I mean, they can help us out anyway, right? Like, it doesn't mean that they can help us out anyway with
And I
this.
do think it would be helpful to understand sort of the order of the work that needs to happen at Union, because I think building a whole brand new campground that can't really access the water without dragging your boat, down a long pitch is
So,
Yeah,
not super compelling. Like, do we need a ballot initiative for a new bathroom? I don't know, maybe that's a question.
could I be honest with you? That's what historically we've been tasked with, is just anticipate what the water level is going to be, build your improvements,
Exactly.
make them as relocatable as possible in case you're wrong. And then the interim experience would be a lesser recreational experience, because you're gonna have the water down here and the stuff up here in order for us to be safe. The fact that we're gonna just make a decision and raise our water level, and water resources will never let go of that. We're gonna go 7. We could always go 12. Yes, we know that, that's fine, but we're gonna
That's
invest
when you
money.
build the campground.
Right, exactly, and then if we have to go 12, we make those changes. But, yeah, that's the sequence that would be the most effective for the user.
And I think that sequencing piece is important to me too. That's what we need to figure out, make sure others understand, here's the things we can do. I think some of them, even though they're sequenced, they don't preclude us from doing other things. That's the thing too. Steve said, well, it's not programmed in there, but if we can free up $1 million from a trail project, those are fungible dollars. They can be shifted over then. So it still is a savings to the city, and those dollars then can be reappropriated in other places too.
Just to be clear, Brandon, you weren't saying it's definitely not in the package. You're saying there's some new evidence that might lead it to not recommending the package. That's your question.
I'm curious, and
Yeah,
I'm saying you
that's
think there's
what
other ways for us to fund that. That's
But
what
staff
we
is still
bring
working on what the
Right.
package might contain, and it could very much contain res improvements at the same rate it
Council
was.
didn't suggest that.
Well, we're not finished with this conversation. This is real helpful to listen to this conversation right now. Because what's parallel to this kind of goes back to this conversation a bit ago, is what does accountability look like in all this? So not just this, but this in particular, whatever the package is, sequencing, estimates of at least time frames where you would have some idea of what to expect over the next decade, I think has got to be part of the conversation. And then ultimately, depending on what we think the community's going to serve, how big an ask are we going to make?
Okay, well, I suggest we just continue the Union Reservoir theme and go right into the topic about the fee increase.
Okay, there's more here and now, so it's, so we came, or I sent Sue Ellen down here, to in January to talk about the possibility of a fee increase for Union Reservoir. We got some really good feedback from this body at that point, and so we went back and talked about how we wanted to package this. So be clear, took some feedback on some of the rates and how they were applied. And the way we want to present that is to put this in the budget. And so we sent this out to you guys. It's relatively involved. What it comes back down to is we're looking to raise, based on our current usage, I think it's $160-some thousand, and we are increasing the costs out there by, I think it was 150 some, so 95, about 95% of that. We're looking to move some recreation salaries into the union budget. We're looking to expand the rangers by a couple. And this also puts us more solidly in the market. Still below some of our competitors for sure. I think very competitive, but starts to get us a little bit more on track with the rest of the market also. So that's kind of the gist of that. Did anybody have any questions on it, like specific to any particular thing that you saw? One of the main things, fee increase, the dailies going on the weekends from 12 to 15. Passes changing, the boat storage changes fairly significantly, but we're also increasing the quality of that experience as far as the individual slips and everybody having a number and just really getting control of that. We're actually really excited about that. That's happening right now, where we're getting individual passes to the users, getting them into spots. So we'll understand what we have, so we can potentially expand that storage to a few more folks. So.
I have a couple questions, just things that I couldn't tell, like there was a mix of things that were from proposals, it sounded like you were asking, and then there were other things that seemed like more desired, but I wasn't sure what was happening with them. So
I think
like,
everything, okay, go ahead.
well, like creating 1 or 2 additional park shelters would address the needs for shaded reservable space, and then those sort of desired improvements include providing a changing and shower area. So like some of like the restroom changing area, the park shelters, are those things that are in the master plan you're thinking about, or are those things you're
Those are
actively
things
working?
they are in the master plan, but they also link to the conversation you just had about how much do we want.
They're just not in the location where they need to be.
Exactly, we'll put them underwater. But can we put a park shelter out that can be dismantled, that we put a pad, where we get huge use from that, on a constant basis, I'm not 100% sure, but I would think so. We could do something like that, and so it's a balance. But yeah, we would certainly like to because, as Aaron said, the usage out there is massive. Its popularity is massive, and we really want to serve as many people as we can. We've wanted to mention that we've done some, I think, really neat improvements. They're not big, but I think they'll be really impactful. We added 21 spots over towards the area where paddleboards go in, kind of to the more north by the previous campground. Parking spots. Moved our rocks so that's a little more defined, hoping for folks not pulling off into the grass so much, which I thought was a safety issue, being out there myself quite a bit. Added a sand entry for paddleboards, which I'm really thankful for. It's really going to be great. And we've also added some sand to the swim beach too. So in addition, we've updated the bathrooms, the same type. We haven't changed what they are, but completely redid the outsides, redone the flat work around them. So some really neat improvements that we've gotten done. And then a few more things we'd like to do. I'm not linking that to these dollars.
So
this
this will
change
mostly fund
is
the 2 additional FTE.
2 additional FTEs and approximately 35,000 into recreation, and that's the time that recreation is currently spending overseeing the gatehouse and those operations. It does exclude aquatics. I'm not talking about aquatics at all. That's Sue Ellen's time, Veronica's time, which is significant at this point. She tells me all the time.
Is there a fee for reserve fish shelters now?
Yes.
Is that increasing at all? I didn't see
We
any
have
increase for it.
Shelters are standard for us.
Across the
That's a
city?
different,
Okay.
yeah, that's a different package.
There's no special price for Union.
I don't think we have a special price for Union, do we, Veronica?
They have their own price.
Right.
It
But it's
increases
not-
the same amount as
Yeah,
based on
when we
that.
adjust the price of shelters, those prices will adjust accordingly.
Okay.
So that's within that whole system, which is a different animal. They are very popular.
I have 2 questions. So last time we spoke, these increases did not go to Union Reservoir. They went to City General Fund. So you paid, let's say I'm paying $20 more tomorrow to get into Union Reservoir. That $20 actually just goes into City General Fund and it doesn't go to Union Reservoir. That's the last time we talked about that, and we're like, is that, is that still the
That
case?
is true, but
Yeah.
we're using that extra money to pay for the things that.
Okay, so the city's committing to using that extra money for that, okay.
Well, that's our proposal.
Yeah, we're gonna put it into the budget.
Okay, that would be good. And then the other thing, and it just strikes me, and like it just hit me, and the water level talk and things like this, when you're doing that, the reason why people like Union Reservoir above Boulder Reservoir is because of the trees. And are we keeping the trees?
So I was just out, we actually had the Union Reservoir board meeting out there, and we talked about how we could try to design to that to keep those trees up in that kind of gathering area right now. So definitely a goal of the reservoir company is to keep as much of those trees as possible. As you get down to the beach area, you start moving the road and stuff. That is a area of contention right now because those trees along the beach are on the dam, and the state dam inspector wants those trees gone, and the reservoir company wants those trees gone.
Man,
So
that's why
there's-
By the
people like
dog
it.
park area?
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, that's why people like it, is there's shade there, and it seems like naturey. I mean, seriously, that is, and then also those trees are a lot older than, they're as old as the dam, so.
Well, there's all
company.
this dam because they grew on the dam. So.
Yeah. but they're just-
Remember that the ultimate recreation area is gonna be over here.
And you'll put a few trees in there, I assume.
Yes.
We will put trees in there, and we
Except
can even talk about putting trees in there now, anticipating,
There
like
you
that's
go.
something we can talk with our forestry.
That'd be good, but
department.
these are
But
200
this will not be
trees.
the main recreation area where all the mature cottonwoods are.
Yeah, the goal, as I said at the top, the really was how do you design it in a way that minimizes the impact of that old growth cottonwood and that sort of current sort of gathering picnic area. Again, the beach, I think, is gonna be a bigger problem. I shouldn't say a problem, but a issue, challenge we have to address, because like I say, the state dam inspector has definitely pushed us for years and years to get those trees off that dam.
He's a dam inspector, isn't he? Like, damn.
He's the state dam inspector.
Damn.
So, do you guys need anything from us?
For this, just want to see any questions or feedback based on what we did. We felt like, we heard you did some adjustments. We're gonna put it in budget is the plan, so
This looks
just
good.
want to see if you had any additional feedback to what we did. The adjustments. Scott?
Yeah, again, it's kind of like marketing PR. With any fees, like, I mean, the sand story is a great one, right? But there's probably no plan to tell people that you've done something until they've already experienced it and they've already experienced the fee. Is there a communications plan of, let's talk about the improvements first, and then we talk about the cost increases? I mean, it would be a way to help mitigate some of that.
Well, yes, I mean, we certainly have a plan to make sure as soon as we know that this can happen for 24, that we'll start to publicize that, and we'll get that out there. The things we're doing now, we're going to be publicizing now, so then they're going to be obvious, and the fees are not going to change. But as always, I mean, since we've really gotten more involved in the last couple of years, it's become this really good partnership that's just grown. Really, the last 2 years really grown out there to where we can target these improvements, and I'm hoping that next winter, we had a list of things. We have some things from this last winter we didn't get to. We'll look to do some new things next year, and as we package that, then yes, I think that's a really good way to go about it. Is make sure that people understand. Put what we did this year, what we're going to do this winter, and we are going to have a fee increase like we have had, across the board.
Yeah, because one of my concerns last time when this was brought up was, yeah, you put more pressure on Macintosh because we've heard over and over again that any fee or any cost at Union basically makes people drive across town to go to the free place. But if there is something like a beach where you can bring your paddleboard and put in, then there's like an easily known amenity because Macintosh doesn't have that, right? So there's some things that are.
I'm
you
hoping
can
that
see it,
simply
you
by
can see
putting,
that,
we did 3 no parking spots.
Mhm.
We'll see how that goes. I'm looking at it like, but I think it'll be a great amenity and people are just gonna love it. I know I will. As a paddleboarder, I know I'm gonna love that.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people I've watched almost slip, on those rocks trying to get in. Now it's just walking into the sand. That should be an amenity people will love, and they will.
And I think, where do you have to tell that story so that gets out there and it's not just the fee?
Well, there's a lot of pass holders, and that's an audience that will listen to us. So that to us is one of the biggest groups, because it's the folks who will use that are the pass holders, the ones that come over and over again. So yeah,
You can
I'm
include it in those,
I
I get those recreation center or
Right.
recreation updates
Oh,
too,
yeah.
and I was thinking, like just doing some stories or maybe even trying to get the the newspapers to do a story about the improvements or something.
Ben, with this kind of partnership, I know Bryce has been your main contact over there, work with the Rangers, but I don't know if there's a way you can soften language on the staffing support, because one of the things that the Rangers historically did was a lot more of the maintenance work. I try shifting that to do more of the enforcement work and the things of the public safety pieces like that. And there's still this kind of blending of where you find, that we can provide the support for maintaining the amenities we're doing. And if there's, that maintenance ranger piece, there's a way to kind of look at language that, again, we can tell that the piece that part of this is going to enhancing the amenities, but also make sure we have the staff to maintain them as well.
Yeah.
And does with the enhanced or ranger change, does that improve the ANS timing and stuff? And because that's a concern on people who are on the boat side of when you get inspected and time it takes to get inspected.
I don't personally have that answer.
Yeah, every one of the Rangers is trained in that, so it definitely does speed that up too.
Adding the volume, simply adding the volume.
Yeah.
And our staff at the gatehouse are not trained in that. Any other thoughts or questions?
Thanks for bringing it back.
Let me just ask, do you have any idea when Parks and Open Space budget will come to council. We heard the broad strokes Tuesday night, and I know we're gonna have a schedule. But
September.
Operating?
well, whatever the proposed 2020, I'm just making notes to myself, just making questions that I'm gonna wanna ask.
Yeah.
About the pass through those fees, so that we can be real clear that whatever that fee is does get into the Parks and Rec budget, doesn't get lost somewhere else in the general fund.
Yeah.
I would invite anybody on this panel, if there are questions you wanna make certain that get asked. I'd love to have those in terms of my list of questions I'll be asking. Cause you've got thoughts here that wouldn't occur to me, and that'll be real helpful. But it'll be helpful to me as well to know when's that in the queue, in terms of presentation.
Fees at Union are treated differently and need council's approval to go up. Recreation fees are designated to the manager to be able to set those, so that's why you never hear from us usually on any other things, because this does have to go to council.
And it's for me, it's a brand new thing to try to figure out how to package this. I'm working with Bryce and these guys and packaging an increase in fees that also has to be approved by council in a budget that has to be approved by finance and the rest of the folks. It's out of my hands.
So just, maybe this is a related question, maybe the question's for later, but just with regard to the park and recreation budget, and we've talked about the need to make sure that recreation's budget is appropriated at sort of the pre-COVID level. Have you put that request in, sort of matching
I
it
have
up with
been
your
told that
revenues?
6 months is the time to come in with that.
Yeah. We have to start generating and being able to tell our story that we're gonna bring in more revenue than what is budgeted. At that point, we can appropriate it, the extra revenue, but we're not there yet.
The way it was explained to me is because they're comfortable that we're not going to run out of money, that 6 months would be plenty of time to look at that. It's the same as last meeting to go back in. So that's how it was explained to me. I wanted to go in a little earlier, but I'm sure it's.
Do you think there's anything we should?
I think
Let's get to next month and see where we're at, and then we'll know whether we need your support as a reminder to council.
That question will come up.
Can you remember what the breakdown of that change was again? What was that? It was like there was a difference in COVID numbers of what your total budget was.
It was 25% that was subtracted out of the recreation budget, not counting full-time salaries, and there were a couple things. And some things have been adjusted accordingly, like utilities that have gone through the roof. Those things have already been addressed, but the operational dollars, including part-time staffing dollars, are still reduced. But that's an interesting one because we have a whole bunch of part-time staffing dollars added because of increases to wages. So it's muddy water for sure. Operation dollars, though, we know that one is still reduced.
It was about $1.1 million
At that time.
Well, it's the number one concern. That's a little bit of a side. The number one concern that people bring up in the recreation Longmont group Facebook page is funding, and people don't understand that there was a change in the mechanism of it. So their whole thing is that it should pay for itself before we pay for another. This trope that is heard over and over and over by people, and that's we're also trying to explain that they're a city, and it's general funds money that is actually managing this to some extent, and there's. But, okay.
Yeah, I mean, the rec center, and I said this at the public meeting the other night, I truly believe the Longmont Rec Center is one of the busiest rec centers in the Front Range. It made it so that recreation for years went from 67% cost recovery to averaging 94 to 95%. which is just an unheard of number.
Yeah, regionally, that was
But-
really high.
But there needs to be a qualifier in there. It's 94% of what is included in our budget. There are many things that facility maintenance takes care of, all of the facility itself that is the shell of the building. So HVAC, plumbing, heating, that sort of thing. Recreation is responsible for the pools and the operation of fitness equipment and that sort of thing. They also pay for the custodians for the facility. So I don't want it to come across that the 94% is not what some people might picture as that's the full cost of operating the rec center.
No,
Because there is a difference.
I know, and
In
it's,
every
it's every municipality,
Yeah.
you're mixing all of these different,
Yeah.
inside, outside.
And it does not include any of the capital to build the facility. That's totally taxpayers not included in the fee to go in and use the facility.
Well, and I do think, and I hope we can maybe incorporate this into a future conversation, but this question about the link between asking rec centers for this high level of cost recovery and that limiting their ability to make it more sort of cost affordable. And I feel like that's maybe not what Longmont wants to necessarily incentivize. Like, how can we make these recreation facilities as accessible as possible? And, is pushing the rec centers to focus so much on cost recovery, creating kind of an equitable access issue. And we don't have to solve that right now, and I know you guys are thinking about that. But I think,
That's super important.
as we think about this going forward, it's something we should talk about.
Yeah, Jeff takes a lot of heat within our division about, well, all you talk about is revenues and we gotta have this and we gotta have that. But, the truth is, we do. My response to that is, well, if the council wants to say that our rec centers are free, I'm in. I love it. It's not out of my pocket. So, yeah, we just gotta try to follow the best we can to keep with it. And that's a great point, because it's different cities have different philosophies.
That's a balance.
Yeah, it's a balance for sure.
Okay, should we build our rec centers?
So, I can give you some very quick instruction. This is,
That's all right.
No, you should do it. Yep, it's fun.
That's right.
You don't have to put your
So,
name on
This
it.
is, this is the urban ULI.
so what this is you have $180. This is not necessarily
this is from our consultant.
you're exactly what you want, it can be, but you've got $180. So the reason this exercise is important is for everybody to understand that you can only do so much. And so there are choices that always have to be made. And $180 relates to our proposed budget and our proposed facility size. So you can take your pick. Now, if there's something there that you really want to be specific, write it down. Write it on the thing. Thank you, Aaron. Write it on the sheet, and that's okay. I would love to I will get these back to our consultant. On to weigh each one of them by 10 and
Put a gold star on these.
gold star on these special ones. But I promise you, I will get these back to.
No, that's great. So I would suggest we take 10 minutes to put these together and maybe just quickly go around and share what we did, just so we can
We should extend the meeting then.
we should extend the meeting.
I move that we extend the meeting so we can play with stickers
To 8:45?
to 8:45 because I'll need to eat them.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great.
I hope that these exact words get in the minutes. And you do want the writing, the reasoning behind because there's reasoning behind why. I don't need that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, what I'm gonna look at is what's on there, not what's not on there.
Oh. Okay.
I mean, and by me, I mean, if you're going to give these to her.
Yeah.
Take a look.
I don't know if they can read it.
To digest that. As a part of our package.
And if the stickers are an issue, you can write your
You can just write
information
it
on
on
it.
the information. They will come off there.
It's tough, it took me a second to
Yeah.
get my stickers going.
Once you get your system going, I think it works.
Now, something in here, like that people haven't thought of is, so like, my church is a multi-generational church. Like, there's now, you don't have to like, you don't leave because your kid's crying, right? What about, because child sitting, we don't have staff for it. There's no staff for it. Like, we can barely staff anything. It is, but what about multi-generational areas? Like, it used to kill me that I'd have to put my kid in, like, if I wanted to run on the track at the rec center, my kid couldn't run with me. But if I was at the Y, because I was working at the Y as well, my kid could run on the track with me at the Y. So I'd work out at the Y, because my kid needs to exercise too, and I really want to be with him, because I don't know if I could be with
If
him.
your kid is with you, they can run on the track at the rec center.
Okay,
The childcare, I think that's a different, I don't think we could just leave them with anybody, because there's a whole security thing of when I come to get my grandkid, I make sure I get my grandkid.
yeah, no,
Not
you don't, you
somebody
can't
else.
just leave them
Yeah.
with somebody, but like,
Your
like,
grandkids hoping
so
for
that
somebody.
you have like
Yeah.
workout areas designed so that, you know, here's my bike, here's their bike. Like that kind of stuff.
That is always a possible thing.
Yeah.
There is equipment that's made for all sizes.
Because I'm brilliant with that, I just want to put that in there.
It only takes one instance.
Can you explain what some of these items are?
Yeah.
What's a health and wellness suite? That sounds very.
That would be an area where you can be reviewed like by a personal trainer, potentially physical therapy. We try to stay away from the medical realm, but there's some melding there. Have discussions with a dietitian, with a wellness trainer. So an area that can be private, that could be screened off to do some of these things. So it kind of look like that. It could be a functional training area too. You can combine a couple things like that.
Like the teaching kitchen, there's been discussion that be at the museum, which is where I prefer it. That the museum have a teaching kitchen, catering space and stuff.
Why would you
Yeah.
prefer it there?
Because I work for the museum. And, I'm just gonna be honest, it's just like it's, the camps at the museum are super rich camps, and they're like rich and in depth, and they've needed that kitchen for a long time. Yeah, no, I mean, I was just curious, this is a discuss, like, I never think
We're
that,
not gonna build two.
but yeah, but that's what I mean, is I don't think, like, there should never really be competition. I never liked the whole competition between rec and museum. It's like, it's all the city and they're right next door to each other. Half the things are, like, we should, like, I always think it's ridiculous, like, the same camps running different things and stuff like that, so.
I don't remember seeing the kitchen in the expansion, but that doesn't mean it's not there.
I don't think it is.
I don't know.
I don't recall that.
Yeah.
No.
It's a very popular idea.
Man, I
The
wanted
other
to
thing
do
that
a chopped,
my favorite
I did
personally.
this gingerbread camp with the
That
museum.
sounds like a great one.
It was great. It was a great camp. I must have been on crack when I agreed to do it, but it turned out great. But here I'm like taking home all this like dough that they cut out. I had to like go bake it at home. It was kind of crazy. But yeah, there should be one in the city someplace.
Indoor turf training area.
Yeah, so a grass turf indoor area, it's really pretty popular right now.
Like the size of a whole soccer field?
No.
Or like
No, this would be smaller areas where you could do real short sprints, you could do pushing sled type
They have the
things.
scouting combine for the NFL.
Right.
Yeah,
It's a narrow sort of area where you can do 40s and
Okay.
jump up on ridiculously high things that none of us would ever jump up on and things like that.
Well, speak for yourself.
Yeah.
Gravity's really for all of us, Jeff, let me tell you.
I'd like to see that as an indoor and outdoor.
All right, we got just a few minutes left, and then we're gonna go around
I
and
just have to total my.
briefly share
Aaron, do you want a pen instead?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks. Talk a little bit now.
I still want to leave there.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be cool. Ooh, yeah.
One person at it.
Nice. I like this. Right next to each other.
I didn't take this to be diagrammatic, like, two different spaces. I'm not looking at hallways or anything like that when I was doing this, as far as the
Okay.
locations. Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Well,
That's what we and architects are gonna do.
Right.
yeah, well, like group exercise studio, like adjacent to, like, and that makes it a multi-generational. Does that make sense? Like, it's in my
Totally,
head,
totally.
you know, like, that way you don't have to
I knew
spend money on
about where
this.
they were.
Okay, we already have this other places in the cities.
Are you trying to borrow more money? Maybe 220 or something? Yeah, don't we all? Yeah, it's some tough decisions there.
No, anything. That's money. Money in space. I've got it all built in my mind.
So, since I'm not allowed in the senior center, despite my white hair, do they have no activity area in the senior center? Okay, I wasn't sure, because because the senior activity, and I just wasn't sure of that.
There's a,
Repeating.
well, from their point of view, at the very least, there's a
Yeah,
high
God's
demand
one.
for it.
Nope, lost a
That's
chance.
during the day.
Okay.
So the way we foresee
Oh,
such
dear.
things. Seniors,
that?
during the senior center, I mean, all
I
one
do.
an area, and then in the evening.
It's hard.
Recreation.
It's the esports gaming space together,
Like all the
overlapping. Oh my god, multi-gen.
What are you kids doing? Again?
Multi-kid and multi-gen. I like it.
I do not want to get another place to go, they're gonna devise.
No, I get that, but wouldn't it be kind of fun if it was
Yeah.
the senior center?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, you said
they-
way-
yeah, the like,
Okay,
yeah.
is everybody almost ready?
I lost my stuff. I don't know where it went. Sure.
You want to start?
Yeah.
Nice idea. Nice idea.
So I'm still I concluded the ice rink just because I don't want it to get lost. So ice rink is still in my plan, so no one forgets it. And then I just kind of tried to, I feel like we need something pretty similar to the existing rec center, so I kind of included the track, kind of a large fitness center, the multi-court gymnasium, the exercise studios. I do think the multi-use classroom and the youth activities center would be good. And I included the recreational leisure pool, but not pool activities. So, including the ice rink is a big commitment. It's expensive.
What
in
is
this
the
game.
dollar amount in that
It's 180 or 160 plus the 20.
That's that ring.
for the
Oh.
rink? Yeah.
35.
It's only 5 more than a recreational leisure pool.
Right, which I don't know if it's actually more than a pool. Anyway, that's what I did.
Depends on what pool you build.
Right, exactly.
So I have number one really in my book is child sitting. I think that's a key to draw in people and give them the ability to exercise when they have small children. With that, I paired it with an indoor playground because I feel like that's a pretty good combo to have for kids to play on. Outside of that, now for the adults who are coming here, I have the recreational leisure pool and the lap swimming pool. Both are key. Just the lap swimming pool by itself is nice, but I feel like it's a little sad to have people who don't swim laps can use. And then I threw in the fitness center large and the group exercise studio large, so I can see some classes being held there. And that's actually probably a prime reason for people to use this. They're paying for this instead of a gym membership, right? So we're gonna get some money. And then I threw in the multi-purpose meeting room event hall just because it's going to be used for so many different reasons. You know, just so many different applications for that. And then the multi-use classroom is a smaller breakout because I could see, I don't know, programs being held there in the future as well. So that's kind of what I came up with. It's the hallways are not to picture, but just we'll let the architects chime in on that. 180.
Hey, I could go under and save some money. That could be a challenge.
Look at that.
Just a pool.
It'll just get thrown back in.
That's right. I went mostly for things that I felt were novel or new to that area. So I like the idea of the indoor turf training area, not having that anywhere else. Indoor playground, same reason, not having a facility like that anywhere else. I kept the rec leisure pool and a smaller 2-court multi-sport gyms. I think those are standard amenities for that kind of center, as well as a smaller fitness center and exercise studio. And the other 2 new things I like the ideas of were the kitchen, if it doesn't happen at the museum, and then the idea of the multi-purpose room, because that part of town doesn't have senior center, same green building, etc. Like we're meeting senior center, we could have been meeting there, but it's not an option. So that's what I need.
Mine's a little under 180. Mine, I like the therapy and wellness pool, and I think that's a warm pool is better for lessons too. Having taught, if it's warm, that kids go put their faces in. A little gym, 1-court gym. Longmont doesn't have any free meeting areas in the whole city, and all the other cities do. And so that would be either the multi-purpose room, either that or the gathering performance area, whichever one could be a free meeting room for, say, a student group that needs to meet or whatever.
So that would tie back to cost recovery, because right now recreation does virtually nothing for free.
I know. Some place in the city's got to do something for free, because I have to go to Louisville to get free. I have to go to Lafayette to get free, and I have to go to Boulder to get free. There's no free meeting rooms anywhere in Longmont.
And the library reopening, so the meeting spaces, so that's a free one.
Okay, that would be good if they're reopening them, if that's actually gonna happen. And then, multi-generation exercise area next to the youth activity center and indoor playground, I like it, and then a group exercise studio. But notedly, I didn't do this fitness center because we have so many low-cost, really nice fitness centers in the area that offer like free fitness even for youth to do fitness, but we don't have recreation fitness centers. Like, so 24-hour fitness is free for St. grade students and things like that. So we don't really need that because the community's already providing that.
Cool. Scott?
So I guess I'm a bit more of a traditionalist, but I really love the rec center, so I want something that's like the rec center again.
Me too.
With less people when I go, right?
Okay.
Because I don't want to fight everybody for everything. So 3-court gym, walking, jogging track. It'd be great to have child care and stuff, because now that my kids are older, I do love little kids, but not when they're like running in your way when they're on the court. So a child sitting area would be great. Or indoor playground for them, so that they can have some sort of space. Larger fitness area. I've heard from a lot of people that that's what they want. Well, not just the fitness area. Sorry, the group exercise studio place that's there. Lap swimming pool, recreational swimming pool, which I guess also helps with kids and as well. And then I really love the health and wellness suite. I'm just worried if it gets used all the time, so I put it, I'm going to kind of try gluing them together. It's either a classroom could be used for part of it, and there's storage or whatever, that there's some instructional space, like CPR instruction, that sort of thing. But I do love the counseling on fitness. My undergraduate's in human nutrition, biochemistry, so it would be great if people actually learned about nutrition and not just I gotta exercise a lot, and then we go to like, Arby's or something like that. So, and I do love the indoor turf training area, but I'm gonna go find a private sponsor to help put that into our plan, because I'm over on that budget.
Do you want me to put it in mine because I'm under budget? And then it would just be free. I kind of thought it was cool too, but I just didn't put it there.
Councilman Waters, you wanna share?
Well, I'm kind of a traditionalist as well. So I did a senior activity area, a fitness center, group exercise studio large, a health and wellness suite, both the lap pool and the recreation pool, the 2-court multi-sport, and then the indoor playground and the child sitting area. But I did include in my library annex.
Yes.
So the creation innovation lab, youth activity center, esports gaming, a multi-use classroom, multi-purpose meeting room, and the multi-use classroom would all be designed into the annex that goes along with this.
No books.
Well, no, we're gonna do books, but this is about capital investment. So, but I do think that's in terms of the conversation, that's an important part of this. What we do with the library, which is going to be part of this package, becomes an enhancement here.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Maybe
cheated.
that's the plan.
I'm way over this budget, but I'm under the other bid.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
really, like, it's all about the story, and I think too about, just this space, and if there was a library branch and an innovation center there, and like what those things add to that collection of schools and community in addition.
If you know the feasibility, if you look at the feasibility study for the library, that's all of it. Makerspace, state-of-the-art computer, center, or the things that you would expect to see in a 21st century library.
Awesome, well, that was fun, thanks for playing along.
Take those on there and make sure they're on and pass them to me and so I'm sure those will be serious.
Oh, good, you can
I
do.
just think child sitting is like,
I just placed my stickers. I should have stuck any of them on. I stuck a couple, but I'm going to return some.
Alright, we are done with our primary agenda, and let's see, we wanna go back to talking about the bike trail access at all,
If
or
we
is
only
that
have 10
something?
minutes, I
We
think
have
that
10
would be, I think that would be a good thing to talk about.
Okay.
Which bike trail access?
The one Scott referred to.
Oh.
Yeah, all I was gonna say is that, Scott, this was just brought up, I seen some emails, I was gonna say Glenn, but with Phil, kind of bringing that forward, we kind of put into, we're tied into our plans, but it definitely did get brought up, there might be some additional capacity in some other work groups that could take on another project to work with engineering, they do some of these curb cuts, asphalt projects and stuff, so it might be a way to do a kind of piece of speed giving thoughts on how you do it.
So right now there is an access point here up to the trail up to Lexington Green. The idea is to bring a trail around this way, across the driveway at that access point, and up the east side of the improvements.
Can you say that again, on like the fire road?
Oh, then it just comes off the road.
Well, the idea is there's an access point from the front door of the center. We've got a trail going around here. It would be a trail adjacent to the fire road. Maybe we could repurpose the fire road, I don't know, but right now, and this is a drainage facility that needs to be, the capacity needs to be maintained for that. Crossing here and then coming up and around would be my idea. I really don't want to bring people into the parking lot if we can help it.
So my first reaction to what you just said is having people on bikes going through the front door of the rec center where a lot of kids are not paying attention and they could get run over.
Where do you want them to, there's already a connection.
Yeah, I understand that, but could it go to the backside?
Back over here?
Yeah.
I don't know. See, that's why it's not an easy design. I don't know. I've never really thought about that. Is there an access point for cyclists to get into the rec center on this side?
No, you'd have to go out to the curb and come back around.
So all the way around this way?
Yeah.
All right, well, yeah, that's the first I've ever heard of that. We could
Scott,
follow
what
up.
was
Yeah, what I wanna
That's
know
what
is
it
what
is, yours,
the
yeah.
bike community wants to see, like, this is so
What-
local to me that.
Yeah,
Go
so,
ahead. You were talking about some ramps. If I-
yeah, so there's, yes, we'll grab the sheet.
Oh, he came prepared.
So there is this ramp and this access point right here, and Dan isn't here, but imagine a lot of tennis players. They're grumpy about bicyclists going through their space. It happens all the time. So you can't bring an adult tricycle or a cargo bike or a trailer through the space without likely having to get off your bike at all.
Yeah, the 3 ramps on the south side of the 3 courts to the east are going to make it almost impossible to cross.
Yeah,
I
so,
totally agree.
and these like handicap parking signs, people hook their bikes on all the time. That little space that's in there is really, narrow to get around.
Yeah. that's
So-
part.
So, yeah, we totally love, like, this is what everybody's thinking, this, or whenever all of this gets built out, yay, some other plan. What I was really just gonna propose and really want, because it's been several years, is ride in, ride up the ramp. And maybe we put a bollard there so that people don't take their cars onto the same thing. Greenway, have a sign saying you're entering a parking lot of some sort, but just a straightforward, like, you're not conflicting with all these people, you're not using this handicap ramp right here, which is what a lot of people do now, because they missed this little ramp, because there isn't a sign. They get around, and then they go, oh, I'm riding around the parking lot until they find this ramp, is to just take out 2 parking spots and put a ramp in. So we've done this for events a ton of time, and it would be great if we just use that to go in. And then whenever this gets developed, we do something else.
I totally agree on that. So you're not thinking of a fast trail right here. Like, this isn't a bike path. This is a way to get in it. Like, you're going like this anyway. But what I noticed,
Because the Greenway isn't until up here.
Yeah, but so I like that ramp. And the other thing that I think that needs to happen is that fire road gate is like, it's really tough to get around. I mean, it's tough to get around, like, running around with kids on foot. Like, if there was a way that gate could have a space that is easy for somebody to cycle through, but nobody else could ride through.
Yeah, so and that's what I wasn't.
It's
right here, David.
Because like somebody's coming from here, because this is all getting built out right here. Somebody's coming from here, and they might go this way. But most people are coming from here. There's going to be a road, unfortunately, coming from here. I don't like that, but
It's north.
there's going to be a road right here.
No.
Like from the museum. Isn't it?
No, you're going
Up here.
Oh, okay. So I'm mistaken at exactly where the road connected. But like, you see you gotta go down a little bit. Okay, this right here, like that, this is all like super bikeable. It can be run aroundable. It could be like useful space if this wasn't completely closed. Right? So the gate, if it had like an opening so that people could get, like, human bodies could get through, not cars. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be good. I'm on it. Like, I like your idea because I cycle around there.
Yeah, so
I just want to see what official cyclists like.
Yeah, what I feel the same is that, if you shorten the gate, so you could actually ride through the gate to get to that spot.
Yeah, we typically don't do trail design or dump people in the parking lots. That's
No, I
There's
understand.
people riding up there, and this is a fix to a existing problem.
Right, and as soon as that other thing is there,
It's
put the
not
curb
really a
back
trail,
in.
it's
Which
just
is, right now,
access.
people are riding around all over the parking lot,
trying to get out.
trying to
Assist.
I would agree, Scott.
All right,
Yeah,
I think,
that's
we'll.
I can talk with Timber about that. We'll see if we can use some miscellaneous concrete dollars.
This-
At least I can't promise for the gate.
Can you do the,
Okay.
does it allow you to do the street view back by the gate?
Yeah, you can, right at the gate, you can see.
The fire department and
The North State
what else?
Regional
We're just trying to walk the road.
Is that?
I don't find funding for the gate.
I was gonna bring you down into.
Yeah, no, you can't see it.
Yeah,
Oh, somebody drove our parking lot, look at that.
yeah, so they drive right to here, you get stuck right there.
Right.
But There's the gate. So right, you can see the worn out path,
Yeah,
Social trailer.
the social trail, and then, and then there's no curb cut here. So this whole idea, if you could take this and then go here, which, again, you'd have to have it marked over on that side, but you then get dumped and then, you really just want there. So some way to get into here to get to that little.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
The gate's tougher, like we would have to create a way around it, you can't have a gate. This post is the most important part of that gate, you can't put the gate here, or the post here, you have to go around it. The gate needs to reach across and close it, because that's a safety hazard and a stability issue, so you have to go around with an access there, or around here. You can't go through.
So are we
Right,
good
but
on
it's-
this topic? Because we have 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah. I'm good.
Yes, sir.
I think you got their attention.
yeah, I think it's a good idea. That's what you're saying.
Great. Okay, so I would suggest, since we are out of time, if there are items from the packet, it's okay if people contact you directly.
Yeah.
Is that right? Great. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.